Thank you for listening to Flannel Punk Radio. I'm Corey Milton. Today's interview is a very special one with Michigan artist Tequila Mockingbird. My former student Clayton Zarkowski and his friend Extrovert are going to be conducting this interview at the Dovedale in Warren, Michigan.
I'm Clay. This is my friend
Extra.
What is your name?
My name is Joe. I'm Tequila Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Mockingbird. It's great to have you on the show. Is it okay if I call you Mr. Mockingbird?
Sure, go ahead.
Perfect. You just released a new EP.
Yeah, I
called
did.
Tequila Shots.
Yeah, I know. Really thought I was clever with that one.
I love the name. To start off with the interview, I have a question about that. What is the reasoning behind keeping all the songs under 1 minute?
Well, so I did this thing where originally I just was like, what if I just wrote like 1 minute songs? Because like I grew up on a lot of like punk music, and like NoFX and Lagwagon have like a lot of songs where like they're under a minute, and I was like, I don't know, I guess I write folk punkish stuff, I might as well try it. And then like I did it for like social media as like let's put out some demos there, and then they did really well, so I was like, all right, I guess I gotta release it now. So yeah, that's what happened.
Sick.
Let me get my first question up here. So, little kind of in a different vein of things, but what remains in the depths of your high school backpack?
Oh man, my high school backpack was a nightmare. Probably a 3DS.
I asked because I got searched at school one time, and I found 7 guitar picks. They found 7 guitar picks in my backpack, and I'm pretty sure they're still in that backpack.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, thank you. So we know you've only been playing guitar for about 3 years now. Is that correct?
Yeah. True.
What initially made you pick up that instrument out of all the other ones?
Well, I mean, like, so I've been a drummer since I was like 11 or 12. And then during the quarantine, like that kind of like, you got a little introspective at that time when you sit there and you do nothing. And I was like, well, I mean, as a drummer, you can't really write songs. Like you need to be able to like write melodies. So I was like, all right, I have like this cheap, like $200 guitar, and it's still the one I use to this day. And then I started like covering, I don't know, like Swing Life Away by Rise Against and like really easy Hot Mulligan songs. And I was like, this emo stuff can't be that easy. And I won't say it is, but
you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right. Once again, we're going to go a little out of here. What did you eat for dinner last night?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. Oh, just, the classic pizza.
Oh, pizza.
Yeah.
Where from? Or was it homemade?
It was some spot that my brother knows that has like garlic knots he really likes. He doesn't even go for the pizza. He goes for the garlic knots.
Sounds like my brother. All right, I'll go ahead and pass it back over.
So I really want to know, like, what was the inspiration behind the name Tequila Mockingbird? Because it sounds a lot like the book Tequila Mockingbird.
Yeah, that was so. All the emo bands have really cheeky names or song titles, and one day I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll just call it that, whatever. And like I thought it was funny, and now I get sent a DM from like Ogbert the Nerd like 3 weeks ago of them just pointing at something that says Tequila Mockingbird on the menu, and like so many people will like reach out to me and be like, hey, here's this. Oh, this is my mom's trivia club team, and it's called Tequila Mockingbird, and there's like 5 other artists with that name. It's so bad.
I love that. I love that so much.
That's beautiful. It's better than how I came up with my name. So if you had to eat one, would you rather eat the FL Studio logo or the Ableton logo? Also, just to give it to you, I got a little images of them.
Well, one of these looks like it's an unfinished version of the Lost comic, and one of them looks like, an actual, fruit. So I think I'll take the fruit.
All right, I mean, that's a respectable choice.
I feel like that's what most people would go for. Listening to your music, there's no doubt that there is a level of like unmatched creativity that most other artists don't have. What were some of your favorite bands growing up that really inspired you to the genre of music that you do create now?
I think that like what Tequila is, it's like a conglomerate of like me listening to so much music over my like teenage years and adulthood that just like I had influences that were just like off the beaten path. Like when I joined the DIY and like the emo space, like people had to tell me like, yeah, no, all of us listen to modern baseball and like a lot of us listen to Title Fight, and I was like, man, I was listening to Let Live and like Rise Against and At the Drive-In. Like what am I doing here? But like yeah, it's a lot of like listening to like weird or niche stuff, or just like being in like accepting every other genre, or listening to things and going, that sounds pretty cool. And not like limiting myself to like just listening to a specific genre, or like actively like challenging myself. And like especially during the pandemic, I got really into, and well, because I had my first major breakup, I think the big turning point for me was getting into Jimmy Eat World, and especially that Clarity album. It just, it sunk me in, because like I had heard some of the emo classics before. I liked like, of course I liked Nevermind, like Honestly, and of course I liked the Cap and Jazz stuff, but like, you have your first bad breakup, and suddenly Clarity
Jimmy Eat World
keeps getting better. Yeah, that band keeps getting better, and all their releases are really good, and then, I don't know, it spiraled out of control from there.
I love that answer. All right.
Alrighty. Well, I do have to ask, would you rather, so one of these things you're going to keep, and the other thing you're going to get rid of forever.
Yeah.
So your options are Nicki Minaj or the new Air evaporative air cooler and portable ceiling fan at Target. Be careful, this is a very loaded question.
I know it's a very loaded question. I could get death threats for a long answer here. It's true. Second answer, ooh, can you repeat what that is?
Yeah, it's the new Air evaporative air cooler and portable ceiling fan. You can just call it the AC if you want. It might be easier on you.
Okay, but only from Target, right?
I mean, it's probably sold at other places, but the listing I found was at Target, so I'm assuming it's a Target type thing.
So are there other ACs that you can use that would still be available? Or
there would still be other ACs, just not the new Air evaporative air cooler and portable ceiling fan.
My answer would be, you can replace an AC, but you can't replace the queen of rap.
Okay, you picked right.
I love I have a question, I guess kind of similar like Tristan's, but not very off the beaten path. If you could have your guitar in one tuning for the rest of your life, which tuning would you pick?
See, this is a great question, and you know this because on that EP, there's 4 different tunings.
So which one would you be stuck with?
Oh, man. You know what? Oh, you know, I guess that I've realized that so if you pick a tuning, can you do it like in a half step down, or does it does not count?
No.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Yeah, fair enough. Right.
You can use capos.
Yeah, you can. Well, I mean, it is emo. If you don't use a capo, how emo are you? Mm-hmm. You know what? I guess if that's the case, I'd just probably bite the bullet and actually learn music and start doing it in standard then.
Ooh,
yeah, I know.
Wow.
Because there's stuff that you can do in standard that's very expressive that just, like, I think it's hard to do in open tunings. Like, I will say, like, yeah, like, Ben Quad couldn't be written in standard, but also, like, Palette Knife can't be written in an open tuning. That band plays in standard and it sounds phenomenal. Or, like, Prince Dad plays in standard and it sounds phenomenal. Funny enough, Jimmy Eat World plays in drop D, but that's essentially standard. So, like, that's, like, the most ubiquitous. And, like, if I'm covering songs, also, it feels like it's the easiest to translate. I think even the new Hot Mulligan release is in standard. I noticed it's not very FACGCE. So, it's probably in standard. So, I'd probably bite the bullet and say, yeah, I guess I'll learn chord shapes and noodles and stuff.
Man, that's ballsy.
Gotta say, I personally would have went with FACGCE because I am a loser.
I love that tuning. I've just played it so much that I need to have a break from it.
I got into it a few months ago, and I've been experimenting with other open tunings, but I think that there's just something about the tone you get from FACGCE that I love.
Especially on an electric, it sounds great.
Oh, yeah.
On an acoustic, it's solid. I think
I like noodling on an acoustic.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I know I said the last one was a loaded question, but this one actually is going to kind of dig deep. Jerry Seinfeld?
you know, there's something to be said about a man who will walk away from millions of dollars for the own artistic integrity of his show. There's also something to be said about a 38-year-old man who dated a 17-year-old. And I think I will leave it at that and elaborate on nothing else.
No, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
But what about the B movie?
Oh, well, yeah, you know, you are right. What about the B movie? Yeah, what about it?
All right. This is a question I do really want to know. What is the creative process like for you when creating songs?
Oh man, most of the time I just sit down and I pick a tuning, and I just keep playing stuff, or like I'll play like, or learn like a part of a song that I really like, and then I'll say, and then I just sit there and noodle for a little bit, and then I'll keep noodling until I find something, and I make it concrete, and then I go, maybe that sounds all right, and then I try to put vocals over it, because at the end of the day, if I can't sing something and play it, it's useless. Like, at the point that this project is at, like, you can't really have long instrumental sections and solo acoustic act. I'm not Dream Theater. I can't sit there for like 6 minutes and play some.
You could.
If I was like Dream Theater, I don't know. There's a clone that's like me that's making music, but yeah, I don't know the process. Sometimes, like, that one Crunching Numbers song that did amazing on the reels, that was like a 1 hour thing that I was like, whoa.
Really?
Yeah, and that's why I recorded it, and then I sent it to friends, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they were like, that's really good. And then I did a bunch of other takes of it the day after, and then released it, and then, yeah, so that was like an unfinished demo, and it took me a month to finally finish it. But, like, usually what happens, especially during the Waiting for a Miracle stuff, or, like, even on the last EP, I find out that I have, like, a decent idea for a song, but the only time that I really finish it is unless I, like, put, like, a deadline on myself and say, song has to be done today. Actually, you're performing it tomorrow. That's
my gosh.
So, like, yeah, that's, like, how a lot of the Waiting for a Miracle stuff happened, because my first set was, like, 20 minutes, and they were like, it was at a house show, and like it was at the Church of Elvis Presley, who the corduroy pants and dad caps people own, and Vic was like, you know, you can play more, and I was like, I don't have any more, and that didn't happen again. But like usually it was like, hey, if I don't get on my own about it, I'm not gonna finish this song, so I might as well put like a deadline on myself, or say like, hey, let's try and write a song in 3 days, or write a song in a week, or take this song that I have that I've had in my back pocket for so long that I performed live and actually flesh it out and finish it. The process, it's different for every song. Sometimes it's really simple. Sometimes it gets put together.
Yeah.
And like I've noticed that a lot of times I'll play something in studio and then I go, that's how I played it, huh? Because I don't play it like that live, and I feel bad about it. But like, I don't know, it just depends. Like, I have a general structure usually, but I need like some outside force usually to like make me finish.
Light a fire up under your about it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think like when I put pressure on myself, that's, you know, it's a good thing, I guess. It's very weird that that's how that works, but usually that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, that was a super serious question, super serious answer, and I also have something super serious for you. Do you think you could pass a 5-star map on the 2007 hit rhythm game Osu?
I couldn't pass Osu, but I was pretty decent at Guitar Hero when I was younger. I got a pretty solid amount of, FCs on Expert. I could do, like, probably up to, like, you know, the 5th or 6th area, and then now I'm out of it. Like,
if you got a computer, you got to get on Clone Hero, man.
Osu, if you gave me a couple weeks, I probably could manage. Get me on that Yeah, get me on that Nightcore Injection by Rise Against track and give me a couple months and I'll
absolutely.
get it. I'll get it.
Well, since we just talked about what the creative process for writing the music is like, I want to know what inspires like your lyrics. Are they random thoughts that just like come into existence, or are they like created through like just hours of writing?
I think a lot of it I have realized is that I will just write and then hash out the ideas, or I will have like a concept for a song and like a line will come in my head and I'm like, oh, that's really good. And I've gotten to the point where like I'll just write down the line and then I'll write a couplet to it and then I'll try and work the whole song around it. And I've done that for so many of them. Like The Bad Night to Be a Beer was based off a real thing. That was an actual... It's funny, it was on a Michigan Weekender that I drummed for the band Dear Heretic for, and all of that's about an absolutely ridiculous show we had in Marquette. Just except for the first line, I was in a living room in Kalamazoo, and there's this girl who was very into me with a Coheed and Cambria butterfly tattoo that I just absolutely fucking fumbled that night. But yeah,
I wanted to ask about that line.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm autistic, it happens. But yeah, so it'll be stuff like it's either like a real life event like that, or like sometimes, especially with the 1 minute songs, I got pretty cheeky. I was like, yeah, what if I just wrote this song about like being like annoyed with online dating? And I was like, oh, all right, fine, whatever. Like
just randomly. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then like some stuff like I think a lot of it that on the Waiting for a Miracle EP. It was either like I tried to be a little bit more vague, but my lyrics are never that vague. They're always pretty blunt, and I get inspired by certain events or certain things where I go, I think I should probably write a song about this, and usually I just like hash it out and like find clever wordplay or like use thesaurus websites online. Like what I heard like and like when people ask me about like how to write lyrics is I tell a lot of bands, hey, you know those, like, play on words and, like, portmanteaus and little jokes you do for your song titles? Mm-hmm. You should do that for your whole song.
Oh, that's smart.
Then it usually works. Because if you have the idea to create, like, this intricate wordplay or, like, to, like, write lyrics that interact with each other, people just think that you wrote this amazing song. And I'm like, I mean, it's all kind of like running bits.
I love that.
But yeah, I don't know. Some of the stuff, it's really blunt, and then some of it, well, all of it's really blunt. A lot of it's angry. A lot of it's spiteful. But, I mean, you know, I think I wrote some pretty decent lyrics. There's some good ones in there. There's some very, like...
Oh, definitely.
There's some very formative, like, oh, yeah, I mean, that was, like, the first song you'd written, or one of the first songs you had written style lyrics, too. But, I mean, you gotta balance it. Not everything can be super heady and wordy. I'm not Bad Religion, as much as I'd love to be.
Once again, a loaded question coming from Clay. But I just, you don't have to answer this if it's too much. Do you have IBS?
No.
No? Okay, yeah, that's the whole question.
Great question.
It's a great question. Back to me. So your style of guitar playing is very like intricate and diverse. Like I've noticed you have like this Midwest emo like twinkly about it, but also mixed with like a folk punk kind of style. Where does that come from? What's the inspiration behind that specific style of guitar playing?
Fast is always what I like love. Like I like my first band that I truly fell in love with when I got the chance to like listen to it on my own was Rise Against, and especially their older material, like Revolutions Per Minute, fast, like,
yeah,
and it's unrelenting, and I like songs like that, where I just like playing that fast, and like, as a drummer, you know, my right hand's been going for so long, so like, it gets to the point where I'm like, I don't like writing slow. There's something about like acoustic where like, as much as I love it, there will be like acoustic sets where it's 5 songs and they're all 6 minutes and they have 3 semi-repeating choruses but not really, and I get sleepy, and then and I was like, well, you know, I guess I'll just write like this, and so then I started just playing relatively fast because that's how it was, and then I was like, I guess I can just do these fun little noodles in there too, why not? And so yeah, it's a conglomerate of growing up and listening to a lot of punk and post-hardcore, and then listening to a lot of, like, Midwest emo and like DIY stuff now. I think that like bands are getting to that point, like, and like there are some very obvious examples of like Origami Angel or like Palette Knife, where that's like a new trend, and I love it. Like whenever I hear like bands that like boost the tempo on emo or like really have that energy going and like that punk aesthetic or like rougher vocals, like I'm all in on it. I love seeing that, and I'm glad that it's like a pretty big trend that's happening. So like, yeah, that's where it comes from. It comes from like a lot of listening to, like, skate punk and like even like Dude Ranch when you're like 14, or Bad Religion, like that mixed with like, you know, Jimmy Eat World and like, I'm trying to think of even like a Sunny Day Real Estate. You know, mixing those two styles together, it works way better than I thought it would.
You do a great job at it.
It works better than I thought it would. I thought it would suck, and then I kept doing it, and I was like, no, this sounds all right.
Well, thank you.
I just have two things to say before I ask this question. One, it is kind of insane how you described one of the songs that I'm working on and then proceeded to say that it makes you sleepy. I literally have like a 6-minute long acoustic song that's like 120 BPM with 3 choruses, and you described it to a T. So
I mean, I will say that that's not. I don't want to disparage any artist, and there is a place for that, and in very intimate like venues when you connect with an audience, that does work really well. It's just I go to a lot of shows, and I try my best to be as attentive as I can, and sometimes I do get very weary.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you.
There is artistry in that though. Like Bob Dylan's like especially if you're songwriting and trying to write something really intricate or poetic. I think that's probably better if you're trying to tell a story. It's just I'm a folk punk nerd.
And then also just to like slightly touch on the Origami Angels thing, in the title track, like I listen to like a lot of Midwest emo and emo music, but the way that they just like cut into blast beats on the drums, like that's crazy.
Yep, my favorite track is 666 Flags, which goes from the ska like boots and cat beat into the blast beat. That's crazy. I love that so much.
I like the first time I heard the title track, I was like, wow, this song's really good. And then just all of a sudden there's these crazy blast beats with like super aggressive guitar, and I was like, that's not where I thought this song was going at all.
That's kind of what I love about that band, is that they'll always make you guess where the song is going, and I think unpredictability in songwriting is like gigantic. Like I'm a huge fan of Hail the Sun, and that band, you don't know what the next part's gonna sound like. So yeah.
All right, back to my little questions here. So, how do you think you would react if you like went home and 3 days later realized you weren't in your home, but for some reason there was a room that was exactly identical to yours?
This is awesome. Where am I located now? Like that would definitely determine how I would feel about the situation.
No, you're like you are in someone's home. Like you are just in someone else's home.
Yeah, but what location? Like, what is it? A different state?
Nope.
Is it a different...
Same. You could literally be up the road. It doesn't matter what house you're just in a house.
Yeah, I would feel a little dumb about that, considering I live in a trailer park that isn't too far off that a room would look similar. But if that's the case, I would also feel very worried that a person who has a room that also has the same drum kit as mine and the same posters on the wall is that close in relation to me. That'd probably be my biggest worry.
I mean, hey man, you never know.
All right. So when it comes to equipment, obviously you can make music on like anything. But what does your dream studio look like? Like dream studio, dream drum set, dream guitar. Like what is like the things you wish you could make music on, the wish you could have?
You know, that for a long time I had this wish, and like I didn't really own like a legitimate like electric guitar setup, and finally bit the bullet, and now I have an AC30 and the Jim Adkins signature Telly. I don't know what pedals I would get because I know nothing about pedals. I think it's funny to have the least amount possible. Keith from Mount Oriander, who is also an Empire, his pedal board is a tuner and a Ibanez tube screamer, and that's it.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's funny to watch them live and do that. But like, I think that even if I had the ability to have just like this expensive collection, I would probably just want it to stay relatively simple. I don't know drum-wise what I would want, because a lot of the higher-end drums it feels a little like, I don't know, self-indulgent, and like I guess at the end of the day, I would love to have, if it's even possible, some type of like weird signature model for a guitar or some weird signature drum. And if that doesn't happen, I would just get like usually like, I guess like industry standard stuff, solid cymbals, solid setup, enough to where I enjoy the sound of it, where I could record it to myself. And it doesn't have to be the most produced thing in the world. I love music that has mistakes and like miscues and everything in it. So like, I don't know, there'd be so much that I would want, and then there would be so much that would, because like the worst thing that I do is I hate owning something and then not using it. And like a lot of like traditional guitar players will have like 30 pedals and they don't use 20 of them, and I'm like, I could never. Like, I have my one acoustic and I play that thing until it's probably gonna break.
Yeah.
That's probably, and then I'll get another one. But I don't know, if I had access, either I would get just like the funniest equipment possible, like the reverse flying V Gibson, or like the Gibson Modern, like the ugliest guitars. Because once guitars get ugly, to me, they become cool again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
100%
like
agree.
once you reach a certain point, you're like, wow, that is the worst thing I've seen, and I need to play it.
Yeah.
So I would just love to have like a collection of those, and then like probably some, like, I don't know, really nice speakers and a couple amps, so you could get like a really crazy like dirtier tone. And then honestly, the AC30 sounds so good. I love experimenting with that amp and just like cranking the gain like I'm a 12-year-old and going, it sounds terrible now.
We've transitioned to well, welcome to Carpool Karaoke. I believe that's what I'm supposed to say. We have transitioned to my mom's I think it's a 2008 Dodge Magnum.
Love that.
So that's where we are now. Ask your last question.
No problem, man. So last question is just given the obscurity of Midwest emo lyrics and some of the lyrics that you have produced, if you were alive when Shakespeare was around, who do you think would be able to write a better piece about like slightly obese cats?
You're Shakespeare.
Me or Shakespeare or like any?
No, just you or
songwriter?
Shakespeare. You two in a room, you both got to write a song about a slightly obese cat that's like sitting in the corner, kind of hanging out.
Well, who is the audience that would judge whether or not the song is better?
I'm going to be entirely honest here. I didn't pay attention a lot during school, so I don't know when Shakespeare was around, but like people during that time period.
Well, so I'm going to take this dumb question and I'm going to give you a very serious answer and say artistry is perception. Your value as an artist isn't determined on your own worth. It's determined on how people remember you or how the public perceives your art as important. Like, I genuinely believe that if Nickelback and Foo Fighters wrote and released the exact same song, that one would be perceived better than the other. That's just how, like, music is. And, like, I've watched it in real time that, like, albums that I thought were very important seem to fade out of public consciousness. And then certain albums, like, say, Modern Baseball's You're Gonna Miss It All, is now feels more important than it was back then. Because, I was around and I knew that they existed. Mm-hmm. It was on like a decent level, but when they broke up, I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. Like, it was like some people were sad about it, but then like the next year Remo Drive came out and people aren't talking about Remo Drive anymore because the perception is that they fell off. Or like Title Fight now is perceived as this iconic beloved band, and they've literally grown 10 times in size since they've blown up. So since perception is your music is what it is perceived to be, I probably, even if I kicked Shakespeare's ass in that song competition, because it's Shakespeare, it would probably be remembered fonder.
Okay, that is not the answer I was expecting for that question.
And then to close this out,
now we are going to be asking Tequila Mockingbird to tell us which 2 songs we should play on this radio show.
I'm going to pick Tigers by the Casper Fight Scene, the most underrated band in not only this entire state, maybe in the entire world right now. That band is so good. And then I'm going to go with Meatwood Flag by Thanks I Hate It. Love those guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you again for doing this interview with us.
Thank you for bringing me on. Honestly, this is so cool. I loved it.
Well, thanks for being here. Oh, of course.
No, you can.
Okay, thanks for being here. When Corey said we could have a potential interview with Tequila Mockingbird, I was like, no way. And I was so stoked to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm just a guy with a guitar, but so often I'm reminded that like I have like the most loving and like compassionate and super nice fans for the level that I'm at. I swear in the world, man. Like the numbers, they're not big, but everybody who comes up to me, I feel like it's the craziest things. Like I've been told the nicest things and people treat me so nicely and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm just candid and I just say like I'm the dude with a guitar. But I really appreciate you like treating me like I'm a rock star. This happens so often and it feels so great. I really appreciate it.
Because I mean, in our eyes, you kind of are. Like if like we're breaking down like rock stars, a term of like people you listen to like religious. There are a lot, and you really keep track of. You are kind of a rock star in this kind of scene right now.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being on this show. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for giving us a chance. And thanks for driving out here to do this interview.
No problem.
In the rain. It started storming, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I've driven in worse.
I feel so bad.
I've driven in worse. This is Tequila Mockingbird, and you're watching 89.1 WPHS.
They're listening to it, but thank you.
Sorry, my bad. No, I'll redo it. I'll redo it.
No, I'm going. I'm using that whole thing.
I love
so
that.
That's what I do.
No, I make typos in my tweets and my posts, and now I just did a verbal typo and a shout out.